Hi, welcome to my kitchen. Today I'm here to talk to you about something near and dear to my heart. Today I'm going to show you a really fun way to cook with kale. Now I've got a garden full of kale because it's easy to grow and it's very prolific, and it's one of these things where, here in Minnesota, you can keep eating your kale till after the frost. So I'm going to show you how to use up a bunch of it in a really tasty dish, because some people are a little iffy on kale, but I promise you this one is really going to taste delicious. Then I'm going to also add another incredible food, and that's kimchi. Kimchi is, of course, it's fermented, it's full of all kinds of great antioxidant and stuff that builds your immune system. So they're finding links between people eating kimchi and avoiding getting sick. So I'm all for eating more kimchi. And we are going to cook it. Some people think you have to eat it raw to get the benefits, but we're just going to cook it a little bit. Then another incredible superfood we're going to put in here is I've got some red rice. Now this is cooked red Bhutanese rice. You can get Himalayan red rice. It's a wonderful kind of, it's basically a brown rice, except that it's a variety where the bran has a red pigment in it. So that red pigment is actually an antioxidant, just like the antioxidant-rich kale and all this other stuff. So we're just putting all this incredible, nourishing food all into one dish. So it's just a win-win, win-win-win. So I've got my wok here, and I'm just going to heat that up. I was heating it up a little bit before we got here. And I've got another superfood, tofu. This is extra firm tofu that I wrapped in a towel. I wrapped it in a towel and it's drained it, and so it's nice and dry. And I'm just going to cube the tofu. You can cut it any way you'd like, teeny tiny, bigger cubes. And I'm going to fry it because it's delicious that way. And it is the traditional way to cook it. Now if you really wanted to, you could bake it, but I like putting this in with a little bit of oil. So this pan is hot. Now this is my cast iron wok, which I've had for many years. So it's extremely well seasoned, and I just love it. Now you can use another kind of wok. Of course, there's carbon steel. There's also just a plain old saute pan, because you can't miss out on this dish just because you don't have a wok. So I'm going to get this guy cooking. And while that sizzles, I'll show you. Now to get the kale ready to go in the pan, all I did was take the kale leaves and strip them from the stems, like so. You don't have to stand there and slice each leaf off of the stem. You just strip them off. Very, very easy. And then I'm going to put the kale that I stripped off of the stem, just kind of wad it up. That's 4 cups of the leaves of the kale that have been removed from the stem. And I'm just chopping it. You see, if you kind of wad it up, roll it up, it's easier to get a nice cut. It doesn't have to be super fine. So that is the kale. Put this into a bowl. And then I'll give my tofu a stir. Oh, this is going to be so good. So before you got here, I put my kimchi in a strainer over a bowl. And then I poured the kimchi juice out into this little bowl. So I'm going to chop up the drained kimchi. Now I'm using a medium heat kimchi because I'm not that into super hot food. I love kimchi, and medium is fine because we're also going to add some gochujang to this, which is the Korean hot sauce, which is a wonderful flavor. So I don't want to just drown everything out with heat. So as my tofu cooks, I will continue to prep. So I've got my kimchi and my kale together, and I'm going to add this minced ginger and just mix that up. And the absolute fun thing that I'm going to do then is I'm going to, I've got these scallions, they're going to go on at the end, but I'm going to mix up this kimchi juice with the gochujang, which is a thick paste, so you want to make sure that you get it mixed up. So I'm just whisking it with a fork. You could whisk it with a whisk if you wanted. And then I'm going to whisk in some tamari, which has a lovely rich fermented flavor as well, and then this toasted sesame oil, which has a nutty, umami rich flavor that's just going to make your day. And I'm going to just stir some more, and this is just about ready. You can see I've got some browning on the tofu cube. And I'm going to stir this liquid into the cooked rice. And that will season the rice as well as the rest of the dish. Just going to be so fantastic. So I'm now going to add the chopped kimchi and the chopped kale to the pan. And as this cooks, the kale is going to wilt. Of course, this is a wok cooking. We just do it all on high. None of that fooling around with changing it from low to medium low to high. We're just going full out all the way. So if you like your kimchi a little bit hotter, go ahead, use a big hot kimchi. Or use more gochujang if you just like more heat. Oh, look at that. The kale is just turning a beautiful dark green. And that's really all I've got to do. So now I'm going to stir in the rice with all those seasonings. Listen to it sizzle. Look how quickly this is coming together. I just love that about the wok cooking. Everyone wants food to come together quickly. We just want our dinner on the table fast. Oh, if only you could smell this. It smells so good. And so I put that kimchi juice, which again is full of the fermented the good probiotics and all that, and it's got a lovely, tangy taste. And so by just getting it heated through, it's going to season the dish and still deliver all kinds of health benefits as well. So kale, being a superfood, is one of the most nutrient-dense foods on earth. So the more ways you can think of to cook with it, the better off you're going to be. I know I tend to do the same things over and over again. I'm told that's what most people do. Most people tend to make the same several dishes over and over again. So I'm going to just stir this one final time, a few final times. And it's really just that fast. So I'll turn it off. Everything's nice and hot. Hot and toasty. The crispy tofu. Look at that. I can hardly wait. Look at it. Fantastic. And when we serve this, we're just going to put some scallions on top because that's the way to go. So I'm just going to throw a few scallions on there. And here we have our insanely delicious kale and kimchi fried rice with all the great flavors of Korean food. Just amped up a little. We've just added a little more kale. I'm going to take a bite of this tofu. This is so yummy. I love the red rice. Let me get a bite of that. Oh, the flavors have all gotten into the rice, gotten onto the tofu, gotten onto the kale. This is just a real winner, and it's something you can easily do on a weeknight. Just cook your rice ahead of time, and you can use any rice you want. You just have your rice cooked and cooled. And here we go. So here's to you enjoying some kale and kimchi fried rice. And remember, the most loving thing you can do for the people you care about is make them good food that's delicious and also really good for you. Talk to you soon.